So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us for this last session, plenary session number 7, which is devoted to two main topics: a presentation of Saudi Arabia infrastructure opportunities, and a presentation will be done by Yahoub, and the second part will be about the G20 presidency. Maybe I can very quickly introduce Yahoub here. He's the International Office Director of the SAJA, you know, SAJA, no, Saudi Arabian General Investment Authority. You have here Emmanuel Gillet-Lagarde from Natixis. He's Global Head of Infrastructure Finance. Then Paddy, here, the President and CEO of Aqua Power. And then Rakan, lead of Saudi J21 infrastructure, 21, I mean advance, J20 infrastructure working group for Saudi J20 finance track. So we shall start by a presentation made by Yahoub. Is it working? Yes, certainly.
Oh, so press the green button, correct? Ooh, sorry. Okay, I love it when technology works. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be among you. What I'm going to do today is actually give you a presentation on Saudi Arabia. So basically, I'll be covering 3 or 4 topics, sorry. The first one, I'd like to give, to start with providing you with pictures. So those pictures are taken with my own mobile, except for a couple of ones who are generic. Basically, I'm going to admit I love motorcycles, and the best way to travel countries is through motorcycles. So basically, all the pictures, they were done through my motorcycle, and you see some motorcycles in them. So don't be surprised if you see some motos in them. The second one, after that, I'm going to give you some ideas about Saudi Arabia at a glance, hard fact numbers. And then I'll start talking about the mega projects. Mega projects actually starting to target the tourism industry in Saudi Arabia, which is a nascent thing in the country. And I'll finally end with addressing one of the sectors that need to be developed to support this, this project, which is the mega projects. Right. So when I say Saudi Arabia, usually 2 things come to the mind of people: deserts and camels. So what I did is actually added a couple of pictures that shows lots of deserts and a camel. So it's just to confirm the truth that, yes, Saudi Arabia is full of deserts and full of camels. But Saudi Arabia is also 4 times the size of France. When you have a country that is 4 times the size of France, that means there will be a diversity in the topographic and a diversity in the weather. Believe it or not, there are some spots in Saudi Arabia where it's green. So I'm going to follow up with the next slide. Sorry, I'll just elaborate on the 2 slides first, or 3 slides. The one with the camel is the place where Al-Qiddiya will take place, will be developed. So this is one of the major projects. This place is about 40 to 45 minutes from the capital, Riyadh. The 2 other pictures they were taking with my friends, doing some off-road motocrossing at the Al-Ula, which is one of the sites that will be developed for tourism as well. Now, so these pictures are a bit different from what you expect to see in Saudi Arabia. The one on the right is taken with my motorcycle. It's taken at an oasis called Ad-Disa, which is in the northwest of Saudi Arabia. This oasis is close to one of the mega project, which is the NEOM project. The one on the left is a picture taken in one of the wadis in the south. This wadi is one that runs along the mountain range in the south of Saudi Arabia, and it gets a lot of rain per year, and that's why you see those trees. Some more pictures of the south of Saudi Arabia. So again, those pictures were taken in the south of Saudi Arabia. You can see some greenery there. Again, it's far from what you expect to see in Saudi Arabia. That's not my picture, unfortunately. But this is one of the islands, the area that we developed for the Amala project. So this is one of the tourist places. As you can see, this is a beautiful island. I was a bit upset when they first announced those projects because I'm used to being by myself with my friends on those areas. And now I'm going to have to share it with the rest of the world. So I'm a bit selfish here. Another picture. So this picture is along the Red Sea, and that's where the place for the development of the Red Sea project will take place. take note of this picture, because this picture is now, and this place is expected to host 1 million persons per year by the year 2035. The only people I met on those 2 days of camping were actually the border guards, and that's it. There was nobody else. Another picture, unfortunately not mine, it's about the Gulf of Aqaba. When you look at it, at the mountain range on the background, this is actually Sina, Egypt. And it's very close, and this place is currently a virgin, and it's been developed to host the next generation of smart cities. My picture this time, this is a picture of the road that launches the road of Aqaba, and this is the area where the city of Neom will be developed. Now, I'm going to touch on the history. Saudi Arabia, as part of the Middle East, it has an ancient and old history as well. So I'm going to show you some pictures of the history in Saudi Arabia. So these two villages are traditional villages in the south of Saudi Arabia. The one on the right is about 400 years old, and the one on the left is a bit less, around 300 years old. Finally, also part of the history, this is pictures of Madain Saleh. The one on the right is not mine, as you can tell by the professionalism. The one on the left is mine, and basically this is how much close you can get to those Nabatean tombs. And basically this place is an extension of Petra. The same civilization that built Petra built those tombs in Saudi Arabia as well. Another picture, again this time inside the tombs themselves, on the left. On the right, I'm standing on stairways that have been carved in the rock 2,600 years ago. It's a special feeling when you stand on something that's been done 2,600 years ago. Final picture, again, one of those trips on the desert. I was, on the one on the left, I was traveling along the Ottoman train, and I found this train on the side that's been there since World War I. The one on the left, it was in Al-Ula. I took my two kids. From the picture, you can tell which one is the nice one and which one is the naughty one. I don't have to tell you which one, it's obvious. I took the picture, and I did not notice the engraving on top of them. When you look at the design, the carving in front of them, I noticed it after taking the picture. I went to the hotel manager, happy about my discovery, and he looked at it and said, we've got plenty of those around here. So I was a bit depressed when he told me that. So now this is Saudi Arabia away from the media. Now, I'm going to start talking about, give you some hard facts about the numbers of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is about 80% the size of the Arabian Peninsula. It has a population of approximately 34 million, and it has a strong economy, one of the strongest in the region. It is part of the G20, and it is the only Arabic G20 member country. There are two numbers that I want you to keep in mind. The 2.5% population growth, and 50% of the population is 30 years old and less. Saudi Arabia has a very, very young population, and this will lead us later on to discuss, to give you an introduction about the Vision 2030 and why the Vision 2030 is taking place. It is the 19th largest economy in the world. It is the 11th highest growth among the G20. It is the 27th largest exporter and the 31st largest importer in the world. Now, Vision 2030, what is it exactly? Oil has been important to Saudi Arabia, is important and will be important to Saudi Arabia for the foreseeable future. However, we cannot build a future on oil itself. The reason is that the growing population and the young population, and hence the Vision 2030, the start of the Vision 2030. The aim of the Vision 2030, in a nutshell, is to diversify away from dependency on oil. And I'll be discussing one of those plans, which is tourism, to move away from dependency on oil. In order to move away from the dependency on oil, the kingdom has created mega projects to kickstart tourism in Saudi Arabia. And basically, we believe that we have five value added to be considered as a country for destination. First of all, Saudi Arabia used to rely exclusively, when it comes to tourism, we rely exclusively on religious tourism. It was the bulk of tourism in Saudi Arabia. It represents 61% of tourism in Saudi Arabia before the new plans. It is a green field now. We're pouring into new areas of tourism, and because of that, we need partners to move in the right direction. KSA has, again, it is a large country. It has a lot of opportunities of discoveries. Again, people will be able to, we look at it as a winter getaway. You know, when it's cold, snowing, and miserable in Europe, in Saudi Arabia during that winter time, temperature will be nicely in the mid-20s with sun. So we look at it as a gateway to Europe. The government has plans to develop tourism. Okay, and one of those plans is actually the mega projects. These mega projects will kickstart tourism in Saudi Arabia. And finally, the government has incentives in place to support investors in their investment in Saudi Arabia. So these are some of the mega projects and their location. Again, I'll be discussing only 4 of them, which is Neom, Amalia, the Red Sea, and Al-Qiddiya. The other 2, unfortunately, because of time constraints, I will not be able to touch on them. But again, just for your ideas, Al-Ula is the one that has the Nabataean tombs in them. Right, what kind of support do we need to support the start of Saudi Arabia into tourism? To be honest, we need a lot of help from an infrastructure point of view as well as service provision. Again, Saudi Arabia has expertise or knowledge only on religious tourism, and to us, international tourism is a new area that we get into, and we'll need a lot of help from potential future partners. These are the list. It's just a list. It's not extensive. It just indicates the kind of help we'll look into. Obviously, hospitality development, hospitality investment in funds, hotel operators, food and beverage, tourism site development and tour operators, wellness, resort and spa, beach resort, special art, culture and tourism project, and also the software IT needed to support that new industry in Saudi Arabia. Again, the 4 main mega projects. I will start now with Neom. Neom is located in the northwest of the kingdom. So basically, it's when I say Neom, it's the idea, the whole idea of the project is to create a futuristic city with cutting-edge technology. So we're starting from a clean sheet of paper. You saw the picture there. It's just beaches and nothing else there. There's just only one small village, and they will turn this area into a future mega city. That city has the support of PIF, Public Investment Fund, and there's a commitment to develop that area for $500 billion. So this slide has a lot of information, but I'd like just to focus on some of the major ones. 10% of the world trade flows next to it on the Red Sea. So it's right next to the Red Sea. PIF is committed to support the program, Public Investment Fund, the investment fund of the Saudi government. It is an excellent location if you're looking for renewable energy. It has solar and wind energy available there. Sorry, being developed for there. So it's an excellent location for renewable energy. And also the location of Neom is very strategic. It's smack between 3 continents, Africa, Europe, and Asia. Al-Qiddiya, another mega project. This project is very close to Riyadh. It's only 40 to 45 minutes drive from Riyadh. Riyadh itself is the capital. It has 7 million people living in it, expected to be 8 million and a half by the year 2030. So you already have a large base of customers there, based there, and Al-Qiddiya is built as an icon to attract tourists in the area. So what is Al-Qiddiya? Is basically it's a landmark that meets the recreational, cultural, and social need of the population, and also to attract visitors from abroad. It is located in a very scenic area of Riyadh, 40 minutes outside, in an area called Jabal Tuwaiq. So basically, this is a very historic area for us and means a lot. The public fund, the PIF, is committed to support that project as well. So this is another slide on Qiddiya. So it's location, ease of access. It has access to all the transportation support provided by the capital, so airports, roads, and so on. Al-Qiddiya have 5 cornerstones. So basically, what is it about? Well, it has 5 cornerstones. First of all, it's actually to develop nature around it, to use the nature as complementary. It will target sports and wellness, parks and attractions, motion and mobility, arts and culture. When I say arts and culture, we're talking about music events, we're talking about museums, and we're talking about art gallery as well. So it is one of the most developed projects It's already started. So basically, it has 3 phases. We are currently in phase 1, which the master plan has been approved, and the groundbreaking work has been done. So basically, now they're building the accommodation for the workforce, one of the state-of-the-art and world standard accommodation for the workforce. Basically, by the end of phase 1, which is at the end of 2022, the foundation for the 5 cornerstones will be ready for investment. Phase 2 will expand on those, on developing those five cornerstones, and phase 3, which starts in 2026, is to revise the program and assess any future investment needed to expand on the project itself. And this phase 3 will extend till 2035. Red Sea project. Right, so it's a major project in Saudi Arabia, this one. It has 200 kilometers of coastlines. The area allocated to the project is 34,000 kilometers. It's the size of Belgium, or it's even bigger than Belgium. This area is to target to bring the mid to upper class tourists in Saudi Arabia. Temperature during the year round is 30 to 31 degrees. So this is the average temperature. This project is not just the coastline; it also goes inland, inside the country itself, to visit. For visitors to be able to go to volcanoes and cultural and historical sites as well. So the Red Sea project it's actually will target the fauna in Saudi Arabia, the culture, the dormant volcano, adventure-wise, and it provides a full range of tourist attractions to be utilized. Right, so you've seen the picture of my bike on the beach itself. So this is the Red Sea, basically. We're starting from zero here. So the whole infrastructure needs to be developed for this project. We're looking for the infrastructure itself, development seaport transportation. We're talking about roads, airports, and seaport as well. The project will allow tourists to exploit the full beauty and potential of this area. However, we expect by the year 2035, 1 million people will visit this area. So it's from 1, which is me, to 1 million to visit this area. There will be stringent control over the travel to this place to preserve the ecology of the place. I mean, we're talking about fragile reef. We're talking about fauna that need to be protected. So some of the areas, some of the projects will be controlled by PIF to ensure the safety of the fauna and to ensure the safety of the ecology in this area. I'll give you an example of a stranger to this. Some of the islands are essential for breeding grounds for some of the local wildlife. For example, one of the islands was just declared non-touchable because it is essential for the breeding of sea turtles in there. So ecology will take a major role in developing the project for both the Red Sea and Amalia. Last mega project. Right, so this one is a bit ambitious. It's an ambitious project because we're looking to create Amalia, which is a Middle East version of, it's a luxury. So basically, we're looking for the Riviera of the Middle East. So it's for the extreme extremely well-to-do tourists. And the amount of people visiting this area, again, to protect the fauna, will be limited. The ground's been breaking down Q1. By Q4 2020, we expect to have the first hotels open there. Okay, the full project completion is expected to happen by the year 2028. What is needed for Amalia? Basically, we're looking to create 2,500 extremely luxurious hotels room and 700 residential villas and apartments. But obviously, we need all the supporting for this. So we're looking for example, for restaurants, for all the supporting entertainment industry as well to support this area. Right. I spoke about the mega project. Obviously, the mega project will need infrastructure to support them. I decided to pick only on the energy but there are a lot of other sectors that need to be developed. I'm talking about utilities, roads, and so on. But I decided to pick on this one just to give you an idea, flavor of the potential of investment in Saudi Arabia. And by the way, the information I provided you about the mega project is just to skim this. I was just scratching the surface. If you need additional information, I'll be more than happy to provide it. But unfortunately, because of the time allocated to me, I had just to provide just a short information or small information about it. So if you look at the energy now, the current production in Saudi Arabia of electrical energy is 84 gigawatts. This is expected to increase more than 40% by the year 2030. So we're looking at more than 170 gigawatt production of electricity by the year 2030. But there will be three major changes to that. First of all, we're looking to introduce renewable energy. We expect renewable energy to represent 30% of energy production in Saudi Arabia. We will shift from liquid fuel-based energy to gas-fired energy. And we're looking to focus on energy efficiency as an important one of the cornerstones for production of energy in Saudi Arabia, or preserving energy in Saudi Arabia. This is just a slide shot of the project. So basically, when I say developing the energy in Saudi Arabia, this is what happened on a yearly basis. Projects are submitted, and people and companies will compete for them. So when you look at this is a slide of 2019. When you look at the first two projects, Sakaka and Domat Al Jandal, these are projects that are already been allocated. I'm happy to report that Domat Al Jandal, less than that, no problem, almost done. Domat Al Jandal has been the project won by EDF and an UAE partner. The one in blue are the one that's been they've been reviewed now, and it's too late to compete for them. And the one in gray that are the projects that are left for 2019 to compete in. So we're looking to add to the grid by the end of this year by 3.1 gigawatt approximately. And by the year 2030, we'll have reached about more than 170 gigawatt. Again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you listening and be patient with me. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate and come to talk to me, and I'll be more than happy to provide any additional information you might like. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yaoub, for this very, very impressive description of the project in Saudi Arabia. Let me just correct a small mistake of my part. I have not introduced myself. I am an engineer and economist specialized in project analysis from the economic, financial, and budgetary point of view. I'm working on the well-prepared project principle from the technical point of view with the software Source, which has been quoted this morning by Marie Lamfremneau, software supported by the MDBs. And from the other part, the second leg is the financial analysis of project from the fiscal point of view, on the looking for the positive return of good projects, which is very often forgotten in the global analysis of projects. So I close this. Paddy.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Privileged to be here. Yaoub presented focus. You got to pick on something. He focused on the mega projects, which in itself is very significant. But the fact of the matter is, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is, as everybody knows now, through Vision 2030, doing a major reset of the social environment and the economic environment. Entire focus is on efficiency. Step number one. To do everything on the basis of efficiency, take subsidy out of the system, value-creating projects, value-creating infrastructure additions. Renewables is very much part of that. Not only has the kingdom, the oil capital, has taken the decision that it is going to move significantly the fuel mix to include renewables in the mix component for power generation in the kingdom itself, not only because of the carbon issue, but also because that is the most efficient way of delivering those megawatts into the system. What you, along with sort of renewable energy, whether it is ports, whether it is harbors, whether it is educational infrastructure, health infrastructure, everything is also focused towards capturing value through maximizing industrialization opportunities. You saw the presentation with the population growth and the young, 50%. That's an opportunity, but that also means we've got to fuel the economy and create industrial environment. So just as much as in everything else, even in renewable energy, not only is the opportunity in delivering that energy, solar projects, wind projects, in fact, even geothermal, and in time to come, even offshore wind, but also on the back of it, attracting and retaining international expertise and technology through OEMs to come and co-invest, establish manufacturing capacity, knowledge development, to develop the next generation of technologies with the well-funded infrastructure we already have in the kingdom in terms of research institutions, fit-for-purpose solutions, and to use the manufacturing capacity that is to be developed in Saudi Arabia on the back of all these investments, not only to serve the capacity expansions in Saudi, but also to take advantage of the position, the geographical position of Saudi Arabia in the vicinity of an emerging market called Africa, development of neighbors and the whole of the region, and into the stans, the Central European region. So the opportunity is fairly significant, very much focused on partnerships. Saudi Arabia well recognizes that it cannot do it by itself, absolutely is committed to providing significant amount of financing, but is very busy creating the economic and the support infrastructure to attract investment, secure that investment, and create partnerships in country, but also, just like in the case of my company, starting to operate out. We are a power generation desal water producer. We're a Saudi company. We operate 50% of our businesses in Saudi, 50% now in 13 countries, and we will be looking to expand into further countries in addition to growing in Saudi Arabia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paddy, for keeping the time. Maybe Emmanuel will also work under the heavy constraints of the time.
I will just speak rapidly. And clearly, Yarou's presentation, I think, speaks for itself. Beyond a pipeline of projects, at Natixis, we really believe that there is a significant potential in the Saudi economy for a bank like us. And this is the reason why we are actually in the process of incorporating a subsidiary in Saudi Arabia and getting all the authorizations to start operation by the end of the year. So coming back on infrastructure, and maybe just to mention one project, one sector, renewables, we see that the Vision 2030 plan foresees about 60 gigawatts of new capacity to be installed in Saudi Arabia across various technologies, which probably represent an investment above $50 billion. So just one sector. So it gives an idea, a sense of the pipeline. Clearly, for Natixis, which is we are a bank that is, I would say, strongly committed to the financing of the energy transition and one of the leaders in the renewable sector. It is a very good fit to our strategy. Maybe just one word beyond, I would say, the positive environmental impact that it has. I think it makes a lot of sense to transiting to a renewable in Saudi Arabia, as Saudi Arabia has a very strong potential in terms of solar irradiation and wind resources. There were two transactions that were mentioned, the two projects that are under construction. We arranged and underwrote the Sakaka project that is developed by our friends of Aqua Power, which is the first solar project in large-scale solar projects in Saudi Arabia. We also one of the arrangers of the Dumat Al Jandal wind project, which is the first wind project in Saudi Arabia. Those two projects are set world record lows in terms of tariffs, which shows the competitiveness of Saudi Arabia and how it is fitted for renewables. And clearly today in Saudi Arabia, renewable is the most competitive source of electricity, more than oil, more than gas. And clearly beyond renewables, there are other sectors. Typically, we closed a few months back Rabic 3, which is a desalination project with our friends of Aqua. So there is clearly a very strong pipeline and very strong potential in Saudi Arabia. Maybe one thing as a lender, the comments, as we are one of the most active bank in renewables, we are active globally. We can, I would say, tell the merits of each project, and clearly in the region, from our perspective, the projects are very strong. I think in a world where we have an increasing exposure to merchant risk, usually they have long-term offtakes with very credit-worthy entities. They are developed by, I would say, reputable, experienced sponsors, and so from a risk perspective, they are a very strong project. Then the challenge maybe more on the, I would say, pricing, because in Saudi Arabia you have a lot of local banks, so it's a very, I would say, competitive pool of liquidity. And I think the challenge for Saudi Arabia, when we see the magnitude of the program, would be to broaden the liquidity and be able to attract new investors from outside. Clearly, I think the quality of the project is there. Then, of course, there will be maybe, I would say, to see on the structures, or to have more institutional investors, and maybe also to have, I would say, pricing that is more attractive for international investors.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel. And now I give the floor to Hakan.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank Paris and Farawik for this invitation and for allowing us the opportunity to speak about what pertains to the infrastructure working group at the G20 finance track, and to give a little bit of highlights on the Saudi G20 presidency next year, after the successful presidency of Japan. I mean, I'm going to talk about things that are more related to finance ministers and central banks, of course, since we are in the Ministry of Finance here, right? So we are very pleased to be hosting the G20 in 2020. And during the presidency, we would work with all relevant stakeholders, international organizations, multilateral development banks, and member countries to provide a program for the G20 to address the existing and emerging issues pertaining to infrastructure, and embracing the opportunities as well. So closing the infrastructure financing gap has been recognized for some time, and the Argentinian presidency in 2018 have worked on the roadmap to infrastructure as an asset class to address multiple issues, and then it was followed by the Japanese presidency to touch on the quality infrastructure investment, and this in particular touches upon efficiency and touches upon resilience of infrastructure to natural disaster, which is an issue that is faced by multiple and many countries. It focuses on governance issues, environmental and social considerations as well. And then the working group itself has been supported by co-chairs from Australia and Brazil as well, and a phenomenal job has been given to this working group. So there is a growing recognition that increased spending alone cannot close the infrastructure financing gap, and we need to shift from spending more to spending better. Therefore, we have recognized the need to focus into implementation of the quality infrastructure principle that has been provided by the Japanese presidency, and continue the work on the roadmap. In particular, we are looking after technology innovation in infrastructure, and how we can create an environment for countries to adopt technologies, either existing ones or new ones. As well, we are looking to strengthening the regulatory framework to encourage private sector participation. So governments, as we've been discussing all day today, cannot support infrastructure projects, so we need to make sure that there is a conducive environment for private sector to be to chip in and invest in this space. So what we wanted to bring, we want to bring the private sector more closer to the private sector, to the public sector. There are a lot of challenges that we have been facing into technology. Sure. So there are a lot of challenges that we are facing. Technology is something new, and we have to have a future-proofing for it. And what we are aiming to work with the international organization is to come up with a set of high-level agenda to look after the technology and how the government would advance the work on that and create, as we mentioned, this environment. Saudi Arabia will resume the presidency in December of this year, and by that time we will be announcing the priorities and the focus areas of the presidency. Of course, this work is a collaborative work. It involves member country involvement, and we look forward to contribution from private sector. You will be hearing more about the participation plans that we are aiming to, and I'm sure we will be having different and multiple occasions to bring you all again together and discuss the issues more clearly. So I'll just leave it to you for now, and I'm happy to address any question.
Thank you very much, Rakan. In fact, we have a few minutes to discuss again, but maybe there are questions from the audience? Certainly, on such a kind of subject.
Good afternoon. Chris Coles, the Capital Spillway Trust. Have you any... I have to open by making a very special point. This is my personal opinion. I'm not connected with anybody else here. Have you any idea how much damage the war in Yemen is doing to your image as a nation?
I'll answer that if you don't mind. Thanks for your comment. I mean, we're here to discuss investment in Saudi Arabia, not politics. Unfortunately, I'm not from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. If there's someone from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Saudi Arabia who can answer that question, that'll be good. We're just here to discuss investments, opportunities, and not politics. Okay? Thank you for your time.
I think more than ever we have to concentrate on this project, be them small or large or enormous, like the one we have seen, on the project preparation. It is a topic which is well known since years and years. And, but for instance, if we take the cost-benefit analysis, which should be done for every project, what the World Bank statistics are showing is that there are less and less cost-benefit analysis, which is, in my opinion, dramatic. The second point is that due to the importance of what is linked to the climate, what is linked to the social aspect of project, the cost-benefit analysis should be, on the opposite, widened to this item, keeping in mind that we have the negative aspect, but the positive aspect, the positive externalities. It is sure that with the millions of young people that you will have in Saudi Arabia, you have to do something. If not, it will be a political problem, extremely important. And when you look at a different scale to Africa, the sub-Saharan, no, even the global Africa, they will have in 2030, 30 or 35, I'm not sure, around 1 billion additional people. So the proportion of people of less than 20 years will be 50%. And this is a problem which has to be considered in parallel with the climate problem. So I don't know what is the view of the audience about this socio-economic and social problem, how to best use the incredible power of the young people, the less than 20, less than 30 years, which are coming from everywhere in the world.
So, I mean, that's, as I pointed out, that's exactly the foundation of Vision 2030 in order to not just create automated, mechanized environments, but also opportunities to employ more and more, distribute the wealth down to the lowest level possible by including everybody in the transition. So the kingdom is going through not only an economic transition, but also a social transition, and is looking to empower at the lowest level. Tourism, the focus on growing tourism sector is very much underpinned on the ability of that sector to create employment at the lowest level. Bulk infrastructure expansion, there is a parallel activity that's going on in trying to create small and medium-sized enterprises that can feed into that activity. Industrialization, same story. It's very much about creating, quite a lot of it will be mechanized, but still, in today's world, there is a fair significant amount of activity, particularly through small and medium-sized enterprises. We think, by the way, the jumbo jet is all very high-tech. The fact of the matter is the jumbo jet is a lot of components that feed into the jumbo jet comes from very, very small and medium-sized enterprises. The engine of most of the industrialized economies are the small and medium-sized enterprises, and that's the infrastructure the kingdom is trying to create.
Okay, that's very clear. Thank you very much. And I think tourism, I've worked, in fact, in Cambodia in the difficult years after the world has just been finished. And clearly, tourism has been the way for Cambodia to take off.
Yeah.
Obviously, Saudi Arabia is not Cambodia. There's nothing to do in terms of comparison. But in terms of young people, maybe it's comparable.
It's, sorry, can I add something about tourism? It's not just about when you take off, it's also tourism is a two-way thing. So basically, tourism is a way to exchange ideas and open up the mind of people, so either outside the country or inside the country. So tourism will change the social thinking in Saudi Arabia as well. So it's a two-way highway. So it's not just one way.
Yeah. Okay.
If I may add, it is interesting to see the Japanese presidency is fighting aging, and we are on the opposite side from that. We're fighting youth. And of course, from policy perspective, this is something that to be considered because infrastructure, of course, it is a source of growth and a source of job creation. So definitely, these are the areas that from a policy perspective we look at and we consider very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Other questions, certainly? You are ready to fly immediately to... No? It's okay?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much to our panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.